Hi everyone, and welcome into another R. Stuart Winery virtual tasting. I'm Joe Stewart, and this is my dad, Rob Stewart, of course, the winemaker for R. Stewart & Co. Tonight we're taking a look at some of our Big Fire wines, our Big Fire Pinot Gris, our Big Fire Pinot Noir, and our Big Fire Tempranillo. For those of you that have been drinking R. Stewart for a while, you're probably pretty familiar with our mainstay label, but for people who are new to our wines, Dad, where does the name Big Fire originally come from?
It started with a spark of an idea, and the most important thing about Big Fire wines, the Pinot Noir is actually the first wine we bottled, along with the Big Fire Pinot Gris early on in 2002. It's about the connection between the earth and the people that work it, and the farmers, the vineyard workers, the winemakers, the people that sell the wine, our distributor friends, our retailer friends, our restaurant friends, and probably at the top or bottom of the food chain, whatever you want to look at it, our consumers, you folks. It's about the connection between all of us. And the term Big Fire is, I envision this very large, warm, comfortable bonfire where we're all sitting around. And it's a sense of community. That's what these wines are about.
Definitely. Well, let's check out the first one, which is the 2017 Big Fire Pinot Gris. And Big Fire Pinot Gris, as you mentioned, first produced in 2002. Should we go ahead and taste it?
Sure. Salud.
Salud. Now, what makes this, a little bit of sweetness, but certainly not overwhelming at all, mostly dry. What makes this the Oregon Pinot Gris that it is, and what are people going to like about it?
It's we had several options of white wines to focus on, and we decided, since Pinot Gris, the first commercial Pinot Gris produced in the United States, was in Oregon, as an homage to the Ivory Winery, David Lett specifically, and it's a deviation of Pinot Noir. It's a natural for it to grow in our climate. We have high acidity, which all the Pinot family has. We leave a little residual sugar in there because we have a little more sunshine than where it's grown typically in Italy. And I'm looking for the beautiful aromatics of sort of citrus tropical. I'm looking for a nice round middle palate of guava, mango, citrus. But then I don't want the sugar to linger. So there's just a small amount of sugar, maybe 0.5% in there, but there's high acidity and that acid sugar seesaw in there. It finishes cleanly, and hopefully you want more after you had that first sip.
Right. And what other notes are people going to be noticing from this year's edition of the Pinot Gris?
2017, a little bit cooler than what we've seen in 14, 15, and 16. So a little less alcohol, a little more brightness.
Very nice. Very nice. And yeah, it is very clean and bright, crisp. It'll be perfect for this summer as things start warming up here in the Willamette Valley and all over. All right, moving on to the Pinot Noir. As you mentioned, the Big Fire Pinot Noir, the first wine ever produced by R. Stewart & Co. And this is really the, I don't know about the Holy Grail, but it's the core of R. Stewart wines, really.
Yes. So we are tasting the 2018, which we are just about to release into the market. 18 was a very interesting vintage. We had essentially a drought year. We had 1/10 the rain that we normally get during the growing season. And how that translated into the fruit is that you're going to see a lot more concentration. Not raisiny flavors, but just more density to the wines and a little higher alcohol. So sláinte.
Sláinte.
Nice black cherry, some red cherry as well, plum, and a bit of spice. You get that little zip of
definitely.
like cinnamon, nutmeg kind of thing going on. So very round wine, if you will. It's again, I say to people often the problem with our bottles is they're too small because they end up being empty more quickly than you think.
That's just because they're that tasty. What have you noticed in this year's Pinot Noir? I mean, like we talked about, this was the first wine ever produced for our Stuart, and going all the way back to 2 decades ago, how has the wine evolved from then to now?
It's evolved a little bit from the different locations, the different terroir that we pull Pinot Noir from, but stylistically, there's not a lot of change. We've always wanted this wine to be round, enjoyable, no, as we say, elbows and knees sticking out. The 2-3 key vineyards that we pull from Courting Hill and Tukwila. Courting Hills in the north end of the Willamette Valley, Tukwila in Dundee. They both just come together with this round, easy drinking middle palate.
And that, of course, is the hallmark of the quintessential Oregon Pinot Noir. All right, and then finally we've got the Big Fire Tempranillo from 2014. And the Tempranillo is a Spanish-style wine. And so what are the fundamentals of a Tempranillo in contrast to a Pinot Noir or a Pinot Gris, just for people who are maybe not as familiar with this varietal?
Well, what I want to say is I like to tell people this is a Tempranillo made by an Oregon Pinot Noir winemaker.
Is that like just to set them up so they don't get their hopes up too high?
Right. So structurally, that we made this wine to be very similar in acid, tannin, fruit balance to the Big Fire Pinot Noir, but it's with a Tempranillo slant. So you're going to get a lot of plum and a little more tannin because the Tempranillo grape has more tannin, but you're still going to get that round middle palate, and you're going to get sort of a black fruit and a little bit of spice. But ideally, I wanted to pick a grape from a warmer climate and see if I can make it very similar to Pinot Noir grown in our climate.
Let's check it out.
All right. We have to say salud because it's the Spanish grape.
Of course, salud.
I do want to comment, one of the most memorable food pairings I've had with this was a smoked duck taco with plum sauce.
It does sound pretty good.
So there you go. That's what I would recommend.
So this wine, it's been aging since 2014. So just a little bit of age on it. But how do you think that's going to benefit this wine, this Tempranillo?
I think it's still coming off kind of young and,
okay,
and fruity, but mouth-filling. We polymerize the tannins early on, and when I say that, polymerized tannins are round and soft, and that's what you get in this one.
What are you noticing in this Tempranillo, especially compared to our other Tempranillo, the Duver Tempranillo?
The Tempranillo from Duver is much more muy fuerte. It's
that is a Spanish wine.
More like a Crianza out of the Rioja, Spain.
Yeah. What do you notice about this Tempranillo? What are people going to be liking about this one?
I think they're going to be surprised. They're going to be surprised that it isn't like chewing on a log. It isn't harsh in any way. It's very round and soft. Think of it as a Pinot Noir, but it's a different grape.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and all of these, as they are Big Fire wines, are immensely drinkable and just great wines to have around the house when you've got a lot of time to kill.
And friends and family, at least virtually.
Yeah, at least virtually. You can share it over a FaceTime or a Zoom chat or a Skype call or something like that. Thanks so much for joining us for another one of our virtual tastings. You can check out the Big Fire wines and all of our wines at ourstuartandco.com. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.